Rob Manfred gets a 4-year contract extension and goes through 2029. He replaced a very unpopular Bud Selig. He, of course, had been in the commissioner's office, comes from a labor relations background, had a long working relationship with the Players Association. There's been a lot of peace in Major League Baseball in terms of collective bargaining agreements. So what has he accomplished? I'll run through the list that just came off the top of my head. Labor peace with Tony Clark for the most part. Everybody is making money in baseball. The creative rule changes. I think generally everybody across the board, John, is of the opinion that everything they did, pitch clock, etc., has really helped baseball. TV ratings are up. Attendance is up a good 4 to 8%. Most of these markets. A lot of people think that's got to do with pace of play, etc. The banning of the shift, more offense back in baseball. He streamlined the minor leagues, which was a very controversial move 2 years ago when they folded about 40 lower minor league teams, including a couple of leagues. And what they did as a trade-off is they ordered Major League Baseball teams to better compensate all their minor league players. And this past season is the first season. These pay raises for all these guys, whether you're a Class A Dubuque or you're Double-A San Antonio or you're Triple-A or you're the rookie league complex, everybody got a pay bump.
Nice.
In addition, all major league teams have to pay for quality housing. We're not going through a scenario where the stories were broke last year that there were 7 Caribbean players on one minor league team sharing a 1-bedroom apartment and sleeping on the floors and on the couches and sleeping bags. Jeez. I mean, it was a terrible indictment of baseball's behind the curtain operations of minor league baseball. So Manfred has kind of driven that through with Tony Clark alongside as his right-hand man to get this done. And baseball's revenue, when Bud Selig left, it was $4 million a year. Nowhere near what the NFL is. Under Manfred, with all the creative stuff, their gross revenue is now $11 billion.
So 11, from 4 to 11.
4 to 11.
Wow. That's like 3 times almost.
It's almost equal to the National Football League. And then in addition, Manfred and his people taking a hit with what happened with Diamond Sports and Bally Sports, creatively came up with a template and a formula. If this happens, if the regional sports networks go down and they're falling like dominoes, this is what we're going to do to integrate. He's come up with the idea of Team 30, the streaming service. Not everybody's bought into it yet, but they've already bailed out the Padres. They've bailed out Arizona. They're going to probably take over 3 to 4 more teams end of season or in the off season. So what he's done is he's now developed a new template for what streaming on TV will be. And of course, they've expanded the game globally, not just in Mexico City or not just in Japan. Padres are going to Seoul, South Korea. We had what happened in London, England, which was a raging success. So under Manfred's leadership, they've really made a lot of progress in the business issues of the game, in addition to the rule changes, which I think across the board, most people like.
Yeah, I like the rule changes as well. They got a few bugs to work out, but overall good. But in the end, right, money talks, right? BS walks, money talks. And if he's gone from $4 billion to $11 billion in revenue, I mean, that's well worth an extension. But you're a baseball historian, and there's been a lot of very famous commissioners of baseball. How do you think Manfred ranks? Is he have the same kind of presence of a Bowie Kuhn or, Kennesaw Mountain Landis? How would you put it?
You're going back 1,000 years, but I think each era has had struggles. We had the era where Donald Fair led the Union, and that was outright war, including you're not going to drug test my players and invade their policy while guys are doing cocaine and Barry Bonds and those guys are doing steroids. Prior to that, we had the wars over, what do you mean you're going to have a union represent the players? That's never been like that. We can't have that. And that was during the Marvin Miller era, the Bowie Kuhn era. We've had bad owners, a.k.a. Charlie Finley, amongst many others. I think each commissioner has had a different set of circumstances to deal with. I might add that Manfred had to deal with the COVID crisis and the 60-game baseball season. And how do we do that? And they had to shut down minor league baseball because of the fear of spread. And they came in with such a structure that safeguarded the players, although it was really hard for the players and their families, but he came through that. So I think every commissioner going back has had something different that they've really had to deal with at a crisis mode. So as much as you like to boo Rob Manfred, I think he's done a good job. Okay, before we